Hi, everyone. Thank you for attending our session today. My name is Paul Chesterman. I'm the Director of Sales at Ethos. Today, I'll be giving you an overview of how Ethos works and how it can be leveraged for generative CX and UX research. I'm going to start off going through a few slides to give you some background on the platform. Then we'll jump into a live demo so you can see it in action as we go through a use case. The platform was developed by ethnographer C. Max Solari, who came up with the name Ethos. If you're wondering why the O and the S are capitalized, it's because Ethos actually stands for Ethnographic Observation System. The reason I'm bringing up our past is because it helps explain who we are today. One of the core reasons why CMAC developed Ethos was to drive customer empathy within organizations by giving them a lens into the everyday lives and experiences of their customers. We still stand by this guiding principle of empathy through ethnography, but we've come a long way since its inception, developing Ethos into a robust, qualitative platform that can be leveraged across a variety of methodologies and use cases. Ethos is a powerful platform for discovery and exploratory research. The basis of customer and user experience is human experience. Understanding who your customers and users are as people is critical to understanding what they need so you can create products and experiences they'll love. Ethos allows researchers to cast a wide net with digital ethnography so they can discover and illuminate the unknown surrounding customer experiences that occur in everyday life. And so you can find hidden problems with products and services that only arise in real-world situations. Once you identify themes or areas of interest, you can conduct diary studies and chat-based interviews to explore them further. This helps researchers understand the context surrounding specific experiences and dig into them more deeply so they can identify the full scope of problems and opportunities. Ethos can be leveraged for ongoing research, so you can keep a pulse on the ever-changing needs and experiences of your customers. As we all know from the last few years, needs and experiences can change rapidly. By conducting ongoing generative research, you'll be able to stay ahead of the curve by identifying customer frustrations before they become widespread problems. Ongoing generative research also helps companies out-innovate competition by being in tune with customer needs and, in turn, developing new products and experiences that bring in new customers and keep old customers coming back. So what is Ethos? Ethos is a platform primarily made up of two pieces. We have the apps, which are used by participants, and a web-based backend that's used by researchers. Researchers create and assign tasks for participants to complete on the apps. Then participants complete the tasks on their phone as they go about their day. As participants complete tasks and submit entries, those entries get sent to our dashboard where you can review them and conduct analysis. What we're looking at here are screenshots of the participant experience on the Ethos apps. You'll notice they look a lot like having a text message conversation with a friend, and that's on purpose. We created a participant environment that mimics how people communicate today, and we did that for a few reasons. Firstly, it helps lower the learning curve for participants. They're already familiar with this interface, so it's very easy for them to pick up and figure out how to use. It also makes it really easy for them to incorporate into their everyday life. People are already communicating like this with friends and family, taking pictures and videos as they go about their day. It helps the participant feel more like they're having a conversation with the researcher as opposed to being the subject of a research study. This informal method of communication leads to very open and honest feedback. It's much easier for participants to send negative comments over text versus, say, in a Zoom interview where you're facing someone eye to eye. Ethos has several task types that help you capture the experiences of your customers and users. You can have participants record video, audio, and screen recordings, or ask them to take pictures. You can also assign quantitative tasks like single choice, multiple choice, and scale type questions. These mixed method task types allow you to capture a well-rounded view of the experiences your customers face in the real world. The power of a smartphone-based system lies in its ability to capture experiences as they happen. Everyone's attached to their cell phone these days, which allows researchers to be in the moment with their customers and see the world through their eyes. Ethos studies can be moderated or unmoderated. Some researchers just want to collect videos and task-based data from participants without any follow-up questions, and that's fine. There's a wealth of information in that. You start to get real value, though, when you ask those follow-up probing questions that help you dig into and understand customer experiences on a deeper level. So Ethos is a true DIY platform. It's very easy to use, very intuitive. After I go through the live demo, everyone watching will be able to set up an Ethos project. But we know time is tight and projects always find a way to overlap. So if you need a helping hand, we have a team on standby who can help. So to set the stage for the live demo, we'll be going through a use case that revolves around a fictional coffee brand. The objective of the coffee brand is to better understand the context surrounding the coffee drinking habits and experiences of their customers. So we'll be looking at when, why, and where customers are drinking coffee throughout the day. We're also interested in learning about specific experiences, like ordering coffee on our website. By gaining a better understanding of the habits and routines of our participants, we're also hoping to come up with some new product ideas. So now let's jump into the live demo. So when you first log into Ethos as a researcher, you have your list of projects page. So you have all your active, pause, and closed projects with a little bit of high-level information on each one to let you know what's going on. As a DIY platform, the first thing I want to show you how to do is how to set up a project. So you click the new project button in the top left, and then you're brought to our one-page project setup wizard. So the first thing you want to do is add a project name. I'm going to call this Coffee Routines and Experiences. The first thing you'll notice is that we have this simulator built in along the right. So as you're building a project, you can actually see what the participants are going to see within the apps. This is just one of the many time-saving elements we built into the platform. You have a default image in the background here, but you can customize that to make it more product or project related. So I'm going to choose a nice coffee related image, and you'll see that just updated. Moving down the screen, you're going to want to add in your project description next. I'm going to copy and paste some text I have off screen. So in this area, you want to let the participants know what the project is all about and what they need to do to complete it successfully. You can format this to look however you want, and you'll notice that all populated within the simulator as well. And you could scroll within the simulator to see the full extent of the text that you've entered. Below the project description, we have a couple project options. You can choose whether or not you want to capture the GPS location of entries as participants submit them. This helps you ensure that participants are where they say they are. So if you just want to ensure they're in the United States or in a specific town or even at a specific store, it gets very granular so you can ensure that. And then lastly, we have an icebreaker. This is more of a best practice. It gets participants familiar with using the platform, but it also gets them comfortable speaking on video if that's something you want them to do. We just ask them to take a selfie video telling us a little bit about themselves. You can always edit or delete this later. And then you're going to want to choose your project language. We have several project languages available. You can have it run in simplified Chinese, English, French, German, or Hindi, Italian or Japanese, or Korean, Portuguese, or Spanish. So I'm going to go ahead and choose English. And normally I'd click Create Project, but I'm going to enter a project that already has some data in it. So to continue along with the setup process, since we are a DIY platform, next I'm going to show you how to add in some tasks. So we're going to head over to our task management page. To add a new task, you click the button in the top right, and then you're brought to a page that's very similar to our project setup. We have the simulator along the right, so you can see what the participants are going to see on their task screen. But the first thing you want to do is select your task type. We have a number of different task types available to help you capture the experiences of participants as they're going about their day. You can have them take pictures or video, respond via open-ended text. And then we have some quantitative question types like range, which is scale, single choice, multiple choice. And then we have an all media option. So this essentially lets the participant decide how they want to respond. There's just certain situations where people are more comfortable responding via audio or open text versus, say, on video. So I'm going to make this all media. I'm going to give my task a title, call it your next coffee. I have some text off screen that I'm going to include for our instructions and copy and paste that in there. So in this task, we're asking the participants, the next time you have a coffee, take a video of it and tell us why and where you're drinking it. So the goal of this task is to start to gain a contextual understanding of our customers' coffee drinking habits and routines. And you can see this populated in the simulator. All the participant has to do is click this plus button on the bottom of the screen to add their entry. So we have a few task-related options you could choose from. You can assign a due date to schedule a task. You can make a task sequential, which just means the participant needs to complete the previous task before starting this one. And then if you're adding tasks mid-project, you can easily alert participants that they have something new to complete by notifying them via in-app notification or via email. And then lastly, you could decide who you want to assign a task to. You can assign it to everyone in a project, or you can assign it to an individual or group of individuals. So I'm going to assign this one to Tony and Holly, and then click Add Task. And it's going to add the tasks to the bottom of my task list here. So the order that the tasks are in are the same order the participants see them within the apps. So if you want to reorder your tasks, all you have to do is drag and drop, and that'll automatically update them within the apps for your participants as well. So now we set up a project and added in our tasks. Next, we're going to want to add in our participants. So I'm going to go to the participant and user management area. You can add participants by just typing in their email address one by one, or you can bulk import through a CSV file. When you bulk import, you have the ability to include external data points. So this means if you know anything about your participants, like their age, income, gender, or have segments, you can upload that, and then that becomes sortable and filterable on our dashboard. So now that we have participants in the system with tasks to complete, they're going to start submitting entries, and you're going to want to keep a pulse on how your project is going. And that's where our project management page comes into play. You can see all the participants who have been invited into the study. You can see who's installed the app. You can see who's online to have a live chat. You can see what % of tasks have been completed so far, so you know who you have to follow up with. There's a full list of reminders that you've sent, and then a little bit of information on each individual task, so you know which ones participants have completed and which ones they have not. So if I notice Kelly hasn't installed the app yet, and I want to send her a message, I just need to click the checkbox next to her name, go to the action area in the top right, and select Send Message. If I want to send a system-wide message to everyone in the project, I can select All and do the same thing. Go to the action area and say, hey, everyone, please remember to complete your task for today. So that's how you set up and manage a project in Ethos. Now we're going to look at how you review and analyze entries. So right now we're looking at the main dashboard. Every entry submitted into the project hits this dashboard. Right now we have 51 results. The newest entries are in the top left, and the oldest entries are in the bottom right. And as I scroll through here, you'll see more populate, and that all the different task types are represented. We have a picture task, a range task, single choice, open end. We got a video over here. I'm going to go up and look at the first entry again. So in the top left area, we have this red dot, which is the online indicator. If this were green, it would mean the participant is online within the apps. So this is where you can tell if you can catch the participant to have that live conversation. So Ethos is designed to be synchronous or asynchronous. Going back to the text message analogy, Ethos is a lot like having a text conversation with a friend. If you're both on your phones at the same time, you could be chatting live, but if one of you is not on your phone, it results in an alert for the other person. And that's one of the reasons we went with an app-based system. It's because of the power of the notifications and the alerts. It helps really ensure that a project runs smoothly, because every important action taken on the platform results in an alert for the other person. So if you look in the top right of the dashboard here, we have the alert center for the moderator. So I could see I have one message waiting from me for a participant. If I were to click on this, it would bring me right into the area of the platform I need to be to respond. And it works the same way for the participant. If I send them a message, they can just click on it and it brings them right into the area of the app they need to be. So going back over to this first entry, you have the ability to mark it as viewed. This is just a little visual cue to let you know which entries you've gone through and which ones you haven't. You can give entries a star rating. We use this to mark all the entries that we want to include in a report. So we'll mark all of our favorite entries 5 stars, and then later run a filter for 5 stars. So we have all those available to us when we're running or creating our report. Below that, you have some additional sneak peek of what's inside an entry. If you click on any of these entries, you can expand them to see their underlying details and to run further analysis. I'm going to click on a few entries so you can see what they look like in their expanded form. First, I'm going to open up a video entry. So I can play a video. I can make it go full screen. I could trim it if I just want to pull a snippet for a report. And I could take video notes. So if I'm watching the video and I notice something of interest, I can pause it and take a timestamped video note. This is really helpful for when you come back into an entry, or if a colleague comes into an entry, they don't have to watch an entire video to know what your note is in reference to. They could just click on the timestamp of your note and we'll jump right into the area of the video that the note's talking about. So I'm going to go back to the transcription tab. We automatically transcribe all video and audio entries. We conduct sentiment analysis. So we score all entries from -1 to 1, where -1 is the most negative, 1 is the most positive. And then we color code those accordingly. So all negative comments are red and positive comments are green. We take that a step further by conducting tone analysis as well. So we're looking to see if any of these 7 major tones are present within the entry. So right now the system is identifying that joy is present. And you could hover over joy to see what that tone means. And as a DIY platform, we've built in little information icons all throughout the system, so you can always have a reminder of what something means or how to use it. So we also color code our tones. The color coding is based on how confident the system is. So the darker the color, the more confident the system is that that tone exists. The lighter the color, the less confident. And we're leveraging artificial intelligence to conduct this sentiment and tone analysis. You have several tabs along the top here. I'm going to focus on some of the more important ones and jump over to probes. So this is where you have that follow-up conversation with participants. Each entry submitted to the dashboard is like an individual conversation or thread, so you can really dig into individual experiences and entries. So here the participant submitted their favorite coffee brand, and the moderator was able to jump in and ask, where do you buy the coffee? They said a farmer's market. How often do you shop at the farmer's market? Once a week. So they could continue this conversation and really dig into that experience to unearth the golden nuggets of insight that you're looking for in qualitative research. You have the ability to add codes to entries, and these codes are all sortable and filterable on the dashboard. So we have the codes broken out by codes you've added yourself, and then codes your colleagues have added. You can easily add new codes by typing them in here or selecting from the dropdown. Anytime you code an entry in the same project, it'll get added to this dropdown for easy picking. And then the last tab I'll show you is the location map. So this shows you on a Google overlay where a participant submitted an entry. And you can zoom in to get a really granular view of where the participant is to ensure they are where they say they are. Next, let's look at an audio entry. So I'm going to expand here. I like reviewing my entries on the sentiment analysis area because it helps you zero in on important parts of an entry. So here we're noticing that a participant is drinking coffee in the afternoon, but they would actually prefer a lower caffeinated beverage. And they went to a cafe next door to get a half caffeinated coffee instead of drinking our brand. And why this is important is because our brand actually doesn't make any half caffeinated products. It's all full caffeinated. So this is of interest to me. I want to see if this is a trend among all of my participants. So I'm going to go over to the coding area, and I've marked this half caffeine so that I can go through and label all the entries where I notice this happening as half caffeine, and then run a filter later. The next entry I'll show you is a screen recording. So in this task, we asked participants to visit our coffee website and make a purchase. This participant wanted to order their favorite coffee blend called the Richmond blend, and they actually wanted a subscription because they like it so much. But as they're going through trying to order on the website, they can't actually figure out how to order a subscription, and they end up making a one-time purchase. And obviously, this is not what the company wants. They want those subscriptions and recurring orders versus the one-time purchases. So this is an area where we need to make improvement to our user interface so it's easier for our users to navigate. So again, right now we're looking at the dashboard with all of its entries, but we give you a number of filtering capabilities to drill down on your data. So you can look at all the entries submitted by an individual participant or a group of participants, by media type. So if you just want to look at all the videos or audio recordings, you can sort and show entries based on the day and the time of day. Or if you just want to look at an individual task that looks at a specific experience, you could look at all the entries submitted to that. You also can look at the external data points. So this is what you're uploading along with your participants. This was a multi-country study, so I could just look at the entries submitted to, say, the US and Canada if I wanted. You could pull all of your positive or negative entries. You could sort by the codes that you've added. And then we have some additional filters that are good for project management. And then lastly, we have a free-form search. So this smart search actually crawls all of the transcriptions, probe conversations, open-ended responses to see if the keyword you're searching for is present anywhere in the project. So earlier we noticed that one participant was having issues with the caffeine content with the coffee they were drinking in the afternoon. So to see if this is a trend or not, I'm going to run a filter for the afternoon so I could pull all of my entries that were submitted in the afternoon. And then I'm going to layer that with a free-form search for caffeine to see who's mentioning caffeine in entries submitted in the afternoon. So I'm going to click apply. And that's going to pull all my afternoon entries that mention caffeine. You could see this audio entry is the one we reviewed. So it's pulling in the correct data. And I'm going to open up another entry here, the first one, and then look at the sentiment. And here I could see this participant is also having problems with the caffeine. They're actually diluting their coffee with water so they don't stay up at night. So what I did here is I also went in and I marked this with the code half caffeine. So what this allows me to do later is go run a filter for the code half caffeine so I could see all the participants' entries that are having issues with the caffeine content. So I could ask them follow-up questions, like if they'd be interested in buying our product if we made a half caffeine version. Another thing I noticed while going through the entries is that we have one of our customers using a Keurig machine. And this is of interest to us because we don't actually offer a K-Cup product. So what I'm going to do is do another free-form search for Keurigs to see how many of our customers are using Keurig machines. Maybe this is another product opportunity. So this just pulled all of the entries that mention Keurig anywhere within them. And this is where we might use our workspace feature. So if I click Save as Workspace, the first thing I would do is give it a name. I'm going to call it Keurig Users and then add in a description. But workspaces essentially allow you to save filters into separate pages. So you can start theming and organizing all of your entries. And then you could choose the type of workspace that you want. We have smart workspaces, which we almost always use because they're dynamic. And what this means is anytime a new entry submitted to the project matches your filtering criteria of the workspace, it gets added into the workspace. So this is really powerful because if I knew in the beginning of the study that I was going to be interested in Keurig users, I could set up this workspace at the beginning of the project or before the project even started to automate my theming. So I'll show you what that looks like. I'm going to jump over to the analysis area, go to the workspaces. Now we're looking at the workspaces that I've set up. I've broken out my workspaces into pages that are revolve around cold brew makers, afternoon coffee drinkers, half caffeine preference users, and then Keurig users. And if I jump into the Keurig users, you'll see these are the same results from our filter that we just ran. Another thing to mention about workspaces is that they're very flexible. So I can actually invite participants into this workspace to have a breakout session or mini focus group where they can view and comment on each other's entries, or where you can have a moderator-led group discussion. So we built a few out-of-the-box reports to help you get to insight faster. I'm going to show you a few of them in our analysis dropdown. We're first going to look at the sentiment analysis report. So I'm going to go over to a task. How appealing do you find this packaging? So we put a packaging concept in front of participants so that we can get a quick read on if they had positive or negative sentiment towards it. But this is also really good for getting feedback or quick reads on experiences. So this question easily could have been, how is your experience going through our drive-through, or calling into support, or navigating our website? And then I can see that 42% of participants had a positive experience, 28% had a negative. And then you could see the associated positive and negative comments right below the scores. So I could switch over to my negative entries to see those comments, because a lot of times those are more interesting. We could see that Tony didn't like it. He wouldn't buy it. It's too plain, doesn't stand out. And that Richa felt the colors weren't great. She'd like darker colors and doesn't think the packaging gives off the feeling that it contains coffee. So what I could do here is expand the entry, jump into probes, and start asking follow-up questions to dig into the participants' likes and dislikes. So here we were able to say, hey, what if we added this image to the packaging? Do you think it would help portray that it contains coffee? So then you could start making those corrective actions based on the participant feedback. We also have a few out-of-the-box reports for our quantitative question types. They look similar for multiple choice, single choice range. So I'm just going to show you the single choice report. We have a bar chart here. You can hover over the bars for the underlying counts, and then we have it in table format below. You can also export this to CSV if you want to run your own analysis in, say, SPSS or Q. And then the last report I'm going to show is the trending report. The trending report is a great place to begin your analysis. It tracks how often words are used throughout a project. So as a coffee project, it makes sense that coffee was used the most often. But as I'm scrolling through looking at these, I see afternoon is mentioned quite a few times, and then caffeine is mentioned a bunch. So maybe this is where I start to unearth that we're having a problem with our product among afternoon coffee drinkers because of the caffeine content. And you could actually click on any of these keywords, and it'll open up a page with all the entries that mention them. So that's the end of our live session. Now, so to recap the coffee use case, we identified a few problems which could be turned into opportunities. Some of our customers use single-serve coffee machines like Keurigs, so we should consider making a K-Cup. We have a subset of customers who drink coffee in the afternoon, but use other brands because we don't offer a half caffeinated version, so we should consider making a half calf coffee line. And then lastly, we noticed some users were having issues ordering subscriptions on our website, so we need to make improvements to our usability. So that's everything I planned on going over today. Thank you so much for attending our session. Feel free to send over any questions in the chat or even contact me directly. I would be happy to answer any questions you have. Thank you.